Hi everyone. Today I'm going to read you one of the stories from Roald Dahl's Revolting Rhymes. The illustrations are by Quentin Blake and they're very good illustrations, but they're not on every page, so I'll just share them when they appear. Also, if you're interested, there's a boost word from the boost words I introduced yesterday. So if you watched your video yesterday and you're paying attention, you might hear it in this story today. So today I'm going to read one of my favourites, Cinderella. I guess you think you know this story. You don't. The real one is much more gory. The phony one, the one you know, was cooked up years and years ago and made to sound all soft and sappy, just to keep the children happy. Mind you, they got the first bit right. The bit where in the dead of night the ugly sisters, jewels and all, departed for the palace ball, while darling little Cinderella was locked up in a slimy cellar, where rats who wanted things to eat began to nibble at her feet. And look, if you look there, there's a wee picture of a hungry rat at Cinderella's feet. She bellowed, "Help! And let me out!" The magic fairy heard her shout. Appearing in a blaze of light, she said, "My dear, are you all right?" "All right," cried Cindy. "Can't you see? I feel as rotten as can be." She beat her fist against the wall and shouted, "Get me to the ball!" Not very nice. There's a disco at the palace. The rest have gone and I am jealous. I want a dress. I want a coach. And earrings and a diamond brooch. And silver slippers, 2 of those. Oh, and lovely nylon pantyhose. Done up like that, I'll guarantee the handsome prince will fall for me. The fairy said, "Hang on a tick." And she gave her wand a mighty flick. And quickly, in no time at all, Cindy was at the palace ball. Here's a picture of the fairy godmother doing her mighty flick. You can see the wee rat down there at the bottom as well. Quite amazed. It made the ugly sisters wince to see her dancing with the prince. She held him very tight and pressed herself against his manly chest. The prince himself was turned to pulp. All he could do was gasp and gulp. Then midnight struck. She shouted, "Heck! I've got to run to save my neck." The prince cried, "No, alas, alack!" He grabbed her dress and to hold her back. As Cindy shouted, "Let me go!" the dress was ripped from head to toe. She ran out in her underwear and lost one slipper on the stair. The prince was on it like a dart. He pressed it to his pounding heart. "The girl the slipper fits," he cried. "Tomorrow morn shall be my bride. I'll visit every house in town until I've tracked the maiden down." Then rather carelessly, I fear, he placed the slipper on a crate of beer. At once one of the ugly sisters, the one whose face was blotched with blisters, sneaked up and grabbed the dainty shoe and quickly flushed it down the loo. Look, there's the prince there going on the slipper. Then in its place she calmly put the slipper of her own left foot. Aha, you see, the plot grows thicker and Cindy's luck is looking sicker. So it wasn't Cinderella's shoe that the prince had. He had the ugly sister's shoe. Next day the prince went charging down to knock on all the doors in town. In every house the tension grew. Who was the owner of the shoe? The shoe was long and very wide. A normal foot got lost inside. It also smelled a wee bit icky. The owner's feet were hot and sticky. Thousands of eager people came to try it on, but all in vain. Now came the ugly sisters go. One tried it on. The prince screamed, "No!" But she screamed, "Yes, it fits, yippee! So now you have to marry me." The prince went white from ear to ear. He muttered, "Let me out of here." "Oh, no, you don't. You made a vow. There's no way you can back out now." "Off with her head!" the prince roared back. They chopped it off with one great whack. This pleased the prince. He smiled and said, "She's prettier without a head." Then up came sister number 2, who yelled, "Now I will try the shoe." "Try this instead," the prince yelled back. And he swung his trusty sword and smack. Look what he's doing. He's chopping off all their heads. Her head went crashing to the ground. It bounced a bit and rolled around. In the kitchen, peeling spuds, Cinderella heard the thuds of bouncing heads upon the floor and poked her own head around the door. "What's all the racket?" Cindy cried. "Mind your own biz," the prince replied. Poor Cindy's heart was torn to shreds. "My prince," she thought, "he chops off heads." It's a bit mental, isn't it? I don't know if I'd want to go out with someone who did that. Look, there she is looking at it, shocked. How could I marry anyone who does that sort of thing for fun? The prince cried, "Who's this dirty mutt? Off with her nut! Off with her nut!" Just then, all in a blaze of light, the magic fairy hove in sight. Her magic wand went swoosh and swish. "Cindy," she cried, "come, make a wish. That I will wish anything, and have no doubt that I will make it come about." Cindy answered, "Oh, kind fairy, this time I shall be more wary. No more princes, no more money. I've had my taste of honey. I'm wishing for a decent man. They're hard to find. Do you think you can?" Within a minute, Cinderella was married to a lovely fella, a simple jam maker by trade, who sold good homemade marmalade. Their house was filled with smiles and laughter, and they were happy ever after. And just so you get to see all the pictures, there's a tiny pot of jam. Did you hear the boost word? It's okay if you didn't, because this is all recorded, so you can just listen again until you hear it. But it's there, I promise. There is a boost word in there. If you don't know what the boost words are, go and watch Monday's stories and the introduction to all the boost words, and then you'll have it. Anyway, have a lovely day. Bye, guys.